Hello everyone! Welcome back to another review of spoilers for Aetherdrift. I call them spoilers, I guess they're technically previews, but I gotta say I have much respect for all those content creators out there that make these spoiler review videos and make it look good, because this is a lot of work, a lot more than I thought anyway, and I'm definitely falling behind on these cards. So today I'm just gonna speed through these cards, try not to spend too much time so that I have enough time to make my other videos. Anyways, without any further ado, let's just get started. So first off, we have Aether Jacket. It's a 3-mana 2/1 artifact creature Thopter, has flying, vigilance, and it says 2 tap and sacrifice this creature, destroy another target artifact. Activate only as a sorcery. So a 3-mana 2/1 with flying and vigilance isn't the greatest, but its ability is alright. But honestly, the fact that you have to pay 2 and tap it means that you can't activate its ability the turn it comes into play. Overall, I don't think this is a very good card. Maybe it's really good in limited, but in a constructed format, I don't think this card will see much play. Next, we have Slick Imitator. It's a 2-mana, 1 in a blue, 1/3 ooze creature. It has start your engines, and at max speed, it gains the ability for 1 and sacrifices creature. Copy target spell you control. You may choose new targets for the copy. So a 2-mana 1/3 is okay, not the greatest. Starting your engines on turn 2, I guess, is not too bad. And depending on how quickly you can get max speed, its ability is quite amazing. For just 1 mana, you can copy any spell. It doesn't have to be an instant or sorcery. It can be enchantments, artifacts, creatures, anything you think of, you'll get 2 of. You just have to leave up 1 mana when you play that spell. Also note that you don't have to tap this creature, so you can activate this ability the turn it comes into play. That's assuming you have enough mana to play this creature and play another spell and have 1 mana open to activate its ability, but that's neither here or there. Whether this creature will be good or not, I think depends on how consistently you can achieve max speed, as well as if you have actual spells you want to copy, which why not? The copying spells is always good. Anyways, on to the next. Next we have Transit Mage. It's a 3-mana 2/2, 2 in a blue. It's a human wizard. When this creature enters, you may search your library for an artifact card with mana value 4 or 5. Reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. I think this is a really interesting card. It's good in the sense that you can search your entire library for the specific card you're looking for. So it's a 3-mana tutor, but it only tutors artifacts and it has to cost 4 or 5, so it's very narrow. For 3 mana, I think there's better cards. A 2/2 for 3 mana just sucks. And unless your deck like completely revolves around the 4 or 5 mana artifact, I don't know, yeah, this card fits into a very specific deck, so it's not going to see a lot of play. I guess that's the easiest way to put it. We have Gas Guzzler. I love the art on this. It's freaking awesome. The alternate art is also really cool, so yeah, just all on A+ when it comes to the artwork on this card. But Gas Guzzler, it's a 1 black for a 2/1 vampire rogue. It has start your engines, and this creature enters tapped. Once you've reached max speed, it has the ability for 1 black and sacrifice another creature or vehicle, draw a card. So I really like this card. It can fit into any sort of sacrifice deck, and a turn 1 start your engines. So it's a really early speed enabler. And a 2/1 for 1 is not that bad. It is pretty aggressive. And if you end up drawing this in the late game, it's still not a dead draw. As long as you have like creatures or vehicles to sacrifice, you can play this for 1 mana. And then for 1 mana, you can start sacrificing, whatever sacrifice fodder you have and start drawing cards that way. It is instant speed, so you can do it anytime. It's not restricted to it like once a turn or anything like that. So pretty good ability, I would say. Next, we have Ooze Patrol. It's a 4-mana 2/2 ooze creature. When this creature enters, mill 2 cards, then put a +1/+1 counter on this creature for each artifact and or creature card in your graveyard. So, I don't think this is very good. So for 4 mana, you can get a pretty big creature, assuming that you're probably putting this into a deck that mills a whole bunch of creatures or artifacts into the graveyard. But for 4 mana, it only mills 2 cards, and then what you have like you can have a 10/10, but a 4 mana 10/10, no trample, no anything else. I don't know. I think there's better cards for 4 mana. Next we have Gastel Raider. It's a 3 mana 2/1 vampire rogue. Seems like vampires are getting a lot of support with this set. It has start your engines. When this creature enters, target opponent reveals their hand. You choose an instant or sorcery card from it. That player discards that card. Then it has max speed. This creature gets +1/+1 and has menace. At first glance, it seemed alright. It felt like a 3 mana 2/1 with a duress. But in reality, it's a little bit worse than duress. You can only choose instants or sorceries. And also a 3 mana 2/1's not that great. And at max speed, it becomes a 3/2, which is still not that great for 3 mana. So overall, this is not as good as the Gas Guzzler. Bad vampire. Next, we have Racer's Scoreboard. It's a 4 mana artifact. Has start your engines. And when this artifact enters, draw 2 cards, then discard a card. Once you reach max speed, spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Oof. That's an interesting one. For 4 mana, the start your engines portion of it probably doesn't come into play that often, because you'd want to start your engines much earlier than that. But once you've reached max speed, so hopefully by turn 4 you have max speed, you play this out, you draw 2 cards, discard a card, and all your spells cost 1 less. I think this is a pretty strong card. I just don't know if it's 4 mana, so I just don't know how. I think it'll be really good in a Simulacrum Synthesizer deck. Yeah. Or maybe like God, there's a lot of like artifact synergies in this set, so there's probably a lot of lines I haven't really thought of that you can utilize this card. But I'm just gonna say, yeah, this card is good. I just need to take some time to think about how to actually use this card. But yeah, any deck can benefit from having their spells cost reduced by 1. So yeah, this is gonna see some play, I think. Next we have Veteran Beast Rider. It's a 3 mana, 1 green and a white, 3/4 human knight. And at the beginning of your end step, untap each creature you control. Okay. And it has the ability for 2 and a green and a white. So for 4 mana, creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. That's a pretty expensive cost for that kind of a ability, but essentially it kind of gives all your creatures vigilance. But it also means that you can you can use the Veteran Beast Rider to pilot a vehicle, and then at the end step it will untap both the vehicle and the Beast Rider. Yeah, I think this is pretty good. I don't really see what deck it could go into yet, but we'll probably see some play. Next we have the Thundering Broodwagon. It's 6 mana, 2 black and 2 green for a 6/5 vehicle. It has menace and reach. When this vehicle enters, destroy target non-land permanent an opponent controls with mana value 4 or less. Has crew 3 and cycling 2. Yeah, I think this is pretty good. Yeah, nice alternate artwork. It is pretty expensive, 6 mana, but it's a 6/5 vehicle removal spell, right? You can only target permanents that cost 4 or less, but it's any non-land permanent. It's a little narrow, but this could see some play. I'm thinking you probably won't be casting this for 6, but maybe bringing it back from the graveyard or something like that. There's a lot of those bring an artifact back onto the graveyard type effects in this set, so, and other sets as well. So yeah, I don't know. This might see some play. Next, we have River Churn Monument, a 2 mana artifact for 1 in a tap, any number of target players each mill 2 cards. And then it has the exhaust ability for 4 in a tap. Any number of target players each mill cards equal to the number of cards in their graveyard. So yeah, I guess if you're going for a mill strategy, the great thing about this is that you can mill your opponent as well as yourself. So if you have some sort of graveyard strategy going on, you can mill yourself, fill up your graveyard, while also milling your opponent and getting an alternate win con started. I think this is definitely going to see some play, whether it be competitive or not sure, but yeah, I think this is going to see some play in mill decks with Jace. Next we have Voyage Home. It's a 7 mana sorcery, a 5 in Azorius colors, white and blue. Has affinity for artifacts, and you draw 3 cards and gain 3 life. So if you're playing an artifact heavy deck in Azorius colors, this will be probably a lot cheaper to cast than 7. Drawing 3 cards and gaining 3 life is any control deck's dream. Unfortunately, this is sorcery, not instant, and I think that's kind of like a downside to it, but might not be like a huge downside. Again, maybe this fits into, you know, like a more artifact dedicated deck like the Simulacrum Synthesizer deck. Yeah, I think a couple copies in the Simulacrum deck might be pretty good. I guess we will see. Next we have Doom Drifter. For X and a white and a black, you get a 3/3 artifact vehicle. It says, when this vehicle enters, return target artifact or creature card with mana value X or less from the graveyard to the battlefield. Crew 2. I like the alternate art, it's pretty funny. Anyway, might be okay, but overall, these type of cards don't really see much play. Maybe it's better to reanimate big creatures using reanimation spells instead of actually paying the mana cost for a creature. Because basically, let's say you're getting Shieldred back, you're paying 6 mana for a Shieldred and a 3/3 vehicle. Is the 3/3 vehicle really worth that extra 2 mana? Next we have Riptide Gearhulk. It's a 5 mana, 1 and 2 white, 2 blue, 2/5 artifact creature construct. It has double strike, prowess, and when this creature enters, for each opponent, put up to 1 target non-land permanent that player controls into its owner's library, 3rd from the top. So I think this is a pretty strong card. 5 mana is a lot, but double strike and prowess in the Azorius colors, like I'm thinking you can attack in and play a bunch of bounce spells, remove opponent's blockers, and pump up your creature and get in for a lot. It's kind of weird to see double strike and prowess in like colors outside of red. And its ETB is pretty good too. Basically get rid of one of your opponent's permanents for like 3 turns, something like that. Yeah, I would say that's pretty good. And personally, I'm loving all the alternate art for the Gearhulks so far. Next, we have the Speed Demon. 5 mana, 5/5 legendary creature demon. It has flying, trample, and has start your engines. And at the beginning of your end step, you draw X cards and lose X life, where X is your speed. So yeah, it's a pretty good card. The Demons deck is not seeing as much play, and I don't know if this card will be good enough to revitalize the Demon deck, but overall this is a pretty strong effect. Even if you're not playing a dedicated Start Your Engines deck, you are drawing 1 extra card the turn this comes in, as long as it survives till the end step. And also a 5 mana 5/5 with flying and trample is pretty damn good stats. And as always, alt art looks really cool. Next we have Pride of the Road. 4 mana 2/5. It's 3 and a white for a zombie cat warrior. It has vigilance, start your engines, and at max speed gains at the beginning of combat on your turn, target creature or vehicle you control gains double strike until end of turn. Huh. I guess they're moving away from giving red double strike and just attaching it to white now. So this is kind of like the white version of Manifold Mouse, but not as good. Strong abilities, just 4 mana is too much. Next we have Diversion Unit. It's a 2 mana 2/1 robot with flying for 1 blue and sacrifice this creature. Counter target instant or sorcery spell unless its controller pays 3. This is okay. A 2/1 for 2 with flying is, I guess, aggressive enough. I think this could be good in a blue-white artifact deck. Next, we have Gastel Blockbuster. It's a 3 mana, 3/2 human berserker, 2 in a red. When this creature enters, you may sacrifice a creature or vehicle. When you do, destroy target artifact an opponent controls. So it's another like artifact hate on a creature. I don't know if you really need this much artifact hate, but I guess they're bringing in a lot of strong artifacts in this set, so maybe it's needed. I don't know. Overall, I don't think that this card will see any play unless there's really strong artifact heavy decks and you just need that much artifact hate. At least with this, even if you don't have any other creatures, you can sacrifice this creature to get its effect if you wanted to. I think it would have been better if it was a activated ability instead of a ETB, but again, I don't think this is that strong of a card. Next, we have the Loxodon Survivor, 3 mana, 3/3 Elephant Scout. It has start your engines, and once you've reached back speed, for 3, exile this card from your graveyard, draw a card. So, it's okay. I think this would have been better if it was like 2 mana, but for 3 mana, you get a 3/3, and then if it's in your graveyard and have max speed, you have to pay 3 to draw a card. Yeah, I don't think it's that good. Next, we have Scrap Compactor. It's a 1 mana artifact. 3 tap sacrifices artifact. It deals 3 damage to target creature. And then for 6 tap sacrifices artifact, destroy target creature or vehicle. Yeah. I say not playable. Unless this is just if you really need a cheap artifact to put into play, but there's already tons of artifact that cost 1 mana that you can play aside from this. And then paying 3 mana or 6 mana for any of these effects is just too much. So yeah, I don't think this is good. Next, we have Spike Shell Harrier. It's a 5 mana, 4 in a blue, 4/4 artifact creature robot turtle. When this creature enters, return target creature or vehicle an opponent controls to its owner's hand. If that opponent's speed is greater than each other player's speed, reduce that opponent's speed by 1. This effect can't reduce their speed below 1. So I guess if they're at speed 4 and you're not playing a whole lot of speed, you can use this to get them below 4 and get rid of their max speed effects. But overall, I think 5 mana for a 4/4 is really bad. Even with his bounce and speed reducing ability, I don't think this is very good. Though, I must say, the artwork definitely reminds me of a certain racing video game that uses turtle shells. Specifically a blue turtle shell. Very sneaky, I like it. Next up, we have the Daring Mechanic. It's a 3 mana, 3/3 human artificer. And then it has the ability for 4, 3 and a white. Put a +1/+1 counter on target mount or vehicle. This is not a very good card. The ability is too expensive, and a 3 mana for a 3/3 is just not good enough for standard right now. Next, we have the Spire Mech Cycle. It's a 5 mana, 5/4. 4 in a red for a artifact vehicle. It has haste and an exhaust ability. Tap another untapped mount or vehicle you control. This vehicle becomes an artifact creature. Put a +1/+1 counter on it for each mount and or vehicle you control other than this vehicle. And it has a cost of crew 2. So I think this is kind of interesting. 5 mana is quite a bit, but its exhaust ability is something you can activate right away. And you make this into a 5 mana 6/5 creature with haste. I guess that's okay. The alt art looks really cool too. But overall, I think 5 mana is just too much. It's too slow, and probably won't see a whole lot of constructed play. Might be really good in limited though. Next, we have Trade the Helm. It's a 5 mana, 4 in a blue sorcery, and it says exchange control of target artifact or creature you control and target artifact or creature an opponent controls. Then cycling 2. So cycling for 2 is pretty standard, but I don't know. I guess if you have some sort of like not so great creature that maybe you've used up the exhaust ability on, and now you just want to trade it for one of your opponent's better creatures, I can see this card seeing play. But overall, you usually don't want to fill your deck with bad creatures or bad artifacts, so I don't see this really seeing play. Now, if there was like a artifact card that was similar to Demonic Pact, I can see this seeing play. But aside from that, I'll probably say no. No, there might be some fun builds you can make, so I might make some videos using this card, but competitively, I don't think this is going to see play. Next, we have Collision Course. It's a 2-mana sorcery that says, choose one. Collision Course deals X damage to target creature, where X is the number of permanents you control that are creatures and or vehicles, or destroy target artifact. Sorry, 2-mana sorcery to destroy target artifact is okay. Kind of similar to Abrade. Actually, this is really similar to Abrade, but instead of just 3 damage, it deals X damage, where X is number of permanents that are creatures or vehicles. So if you can guarantee you're going to have at least 3 creatures or vehicles out when you want to play this, I guess this is on par with Abrade. Aside from that, Abrade is better. Obviously, Abrade requires you to be playing red instead of white, so that's the other difference. But yeah, depending on the meta, this card could see some play. And finally, we have Afterburner Expert. It is a 3-mana 4/2 Goblin Artificer. This creature has an exhaust ability of 4, 2, and 2 green. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on this creature. And whenever you activate an exhaust ability, return this card from the graveyard to the battlefield. Kind of interesting to see a goblin in green color. This might be a pretty good card to play in like a Insidious Roots type of deck. As long as you're playing cards with exhaust abilities, having this creature in your graveyard is pretty good. It's kind of like card advantage, you know. Say you activate loot, draw 3 cards, and you get a 4/2 creature. And again, it doesn't say during your turn or anything like that, right? Whenever you activate an exhaust ability, return this card. Yeah, I don't know. I think this card has potential. And that was the last card I'm going to be looking at today. I know there's a lot of other cards that were released, but I'm going to get to them a little bit later. I want to be able to edit this video and get it out as soon as possible. So yeah, that's all I have for today. And if you stuck around this long, thank you very much. Greatly appreciate it. And I'll see you in the next video. Hopefully. Bye.